Today we're going to take a look at a really bizarre Ascent comp that worked very well. It's a no Sentinel, double controller, Omen Viper with an ISO double duelist Sky. What's going on? But they won 13-4. But before we get to some of the really cool stuff they did, including some really cool stuff with ISO, first we need to talk about something that really always has irked me about a lot of Viper setups in games. And so let's take a look here at round number 3 for the Viper setup that we're going to get. So we're going to get an early dog here. This is their bonus round, right? So they don't have a ton of stuff. And what you just saw there is the Viper orb coming down here. Now they get suppressed, so it goes down, but we're not really too bothered about that. We're just going to talk about this kind of Viper setup in general and why I don't like this kind of thing. So the setup is this. We're going to get this wall across B just like so, and then we're going to put our Viper orb. Well, in that round in particular it was out here, but there were some rounds where it was in B main as well. It doesn't really matter. My problem is still going to be much the same, and that is that if your opponents do decide to, you know, go for like a fast B exec or something, of course you're going to put up the orb, right? You're going to put up the orb and you're going to try and defend here, right? You know, with snake bites and the orb and all of that, right? The problem is, of course, when your orb is up, you're going to be using that fuel. And whether the attackers then decide to exec while the orb is up or whether they wait for it to go down, it doesn't really matter, because the point is we are using our fuel. So when are you going to use this wall, right? Because your Viper, if both of your Viper things are here, is probably going to be playing somewhere on B, like they were in the round that I'm about to show you. And sometimes you're going to die here before you ever get the chance to use this utility, right? To use this wall, we essentially have to be playing back here, right? We have to be kind of buying as much time as we can and, you know, not dying to make sure we can actually, you know, use this wall. The problem is, though, with this wall, you want to be using this as soon as the exec comes in. But we're not going to be able to do that because we're going to have our orb up, right? So we're just not going to be able to use the wall effectively. Now, to be fair to Apeks, they did change this up and they did, you know, kind of fix that problem, because instead they did use that same wall on B, but instead they decided to come and put their Viper over on A and put the orb on A instead, right? And this setup makes a ton more sense, right? Because if that exec does come into B, you know, when we hear that, we can put our wall up straight away, and instantly we are threatening to the attackers that people are flooding back in onto the site and that they now have a problem to deal with, that there might be 3 people back here, right? That's going to be tough for them. They might get delayed, they might get stalled, they might not want to even try. But when you've got the orb already in B main, it just doesn't make sense. So please, when we're doing these Viper setups, make sure you have a Viper setup that can make sense when you're using the orb or using the wall. But now let's skip ahead to some of the good ISO stuff. And first off, they did fix this problem, as I mentioned, right? Here we've got the Viper over towards A instead, and we got the Viper orb here over towards A. So we've kind of fixed that problem, still with the same wall. That's all good. That's all fine. But really what we need to focus on in this round is this. Because this, with the ISO, is incredible. And I'm not going to spoil everything here, but let's just say that Molzy has an Odin.
طلعت منهم وإن قال وقت فبعد التكتيكال تايم اوت هو الوقت المطلوب.
يا اب انتل ناو الالتيميت الوحيده اللي ريدي من عند فريق نصر اي سبورتس هي اللوك داون من عند الكيل جوي. كاكي تخلص من سيبيستك على عدد ديولست، هو اول بلاير يفول داون، لكن فين التريدز يا نصر؟ فين اللوك داون يا نصر؟ لازم تستغلوا ان انتوا مفيش قدامكم اي حاجه تكاونتر اللوك داون من عند الكيل جوي. انتري وكتير على السايد دايما مجانيه، لكن اودين كيل مولسي يتخلص فيها من الفار.
So that's a really cool use of the ISO. We got the Sky playing contact here, and as soon as this drone comes out, that it is right now, as you can see, we're gonna go for the ISO little vulnerable here, down here, and then the Odin spam as well. Now, the only problem here is that the Sky does die, but you're gonna see with the vulnerable coming out here, I mean, this could have got a lot of kills, right? This had the potential to get 3 kills. You know, maybe if the timing was a bit better, or, you know, if you got a bit lucky here, you know, and they did line up, like, you've got the real potential to get a lot of kills there. So ISO in this spot, I thought was a really cool use. Obviously, the Sky dying wasn't ideal, but I did appreciate this ISO vulnerable. But now I'm about to show you a really cool ISO ult, and the situation is this. We are in a 5v5 currently, but we're about to get a big fight, as you can kind of somewhat tell by the map here. But we're going to end up in a 3v1 that then becomes a 2v1, and then they're going to completely win this round off the back of the ISO ult.
الراجل اكد لي ان انا هنزل لوت من اللي جنب بتاعت امبارح. جايدنج لايت اتضربت دلوقتي هنا من عند سولكاس. مولسي بعدها على طول فك في الميد، دي بيك هاي بيلاقي الاول على الاقل دريدد من الفار. سولكاس سبق واستخدم كل اليوتيليتي بتاعته، ولكن ممتازه الفلاش من عند الفار، واللينك بتاعها كذلك امبرسيف، لكن من نوت فور لونج لانه افوفا وصل يا معلم. وزنا دلوقتي وحيد على قيد الحياه، لكن مش حلو ان انت الكنترولر بتاعك لو هو الاومن يكون بيلرك لوحده. البارانويا دايما مهمه جدا كيوتيليتي تول اضافيه. سبيشال لو انت مكان بتاعك ريد مش عارف ازاي الطلقه دي ما هتتش.
بيجيب الصعب دايما وجا على السهل، ما قدرش يموت زانون، ولكن زانون ياخد السبايك يرجع للاي سايت. افوفا مولسي اذا الوحيدين المتوقعين من ايبكس، لو انا مكان مولسي هاخده للعالم الثاني بالكل كونتاكت ويسيب افوفا في 1 في 1 ضده. نتابع ونشوف هذه ال 1 في 1. زانون يكسر له تي بي، وبالفعل هذه التيمت تطلع من ناحيه فريق ايبكس. كل كونتاكت موجوده، مولسي يموت الى زانون رد الالتيمت ويسيبها في 1 في 1.
في حد مستنيك برا.
افوفا كان مستنيه.
And now I'm going to show you round number 12. And NASR have a Killjoy lockdown in this one. It's the last round and a half. You have to use it. And as you can see from the map here, they're just going to come towards A with that Killjoy lockdown. But as we watch this round and play it forward, I mean, you will just see with the Viper Orb in there, and they use an ISO a little vulnerable there to begin with, but with the ISO, the angle is very good here for the ISO, as you will see, and the Viper Orb as well. Just watch. Even with the Killjoy lockdown, they all are just going to stand back here, right? So normally you would be like, oh, this is quite risky to all be back here, right? But just watch as they're gonna ISO vulnerable, snake bites, and NASR just cannot get into the site, even with a Killjoy lockdown.
اخر التيمت او في اخر راوند هي التيمت الباك وول اخرى من هذا الايسو. هاي بيوقع زانون حتى بالالتيمت، مش قادرين يدخلوا السايت، هم متاخرين على الدخول. سولكاس يوقع في الزيرو بلاير ديتين. مأساة depressing situation يا ناصر.
Now let's finish with an attacking round here, round number 16, and let's start off with our Jet here, because our Jet is going to start in mid with an AWP and miss that first shot, right? Just keep that in mind, because our Viper setup here is going to be the Orb out here in mid, and we've got the Viper wall here across B main, and this Viper setup is really going to be a big part of why they win this round, because actually, you know, Apeks don't have great guns here, right? You only have Sheriffs and a Marshal and whatnot, but just take a look at what happens, because the Jet, after missing the AWP shot in mid, wants to reposition in B main. This is a very common play that a lot of Jets make after kind of revealing the AWPers in mid. They come back towards B main. The thing is, of course, with this Viper wall, it's going to be a bit harder for them. Now the drone is going to come out here in B main, right? You can see it just on the map just there, but it doesn't actually see this Viper, and the Jet just gets ahead of the wall. But the problem is, right, the Jet has to get ahead of this, right? You can't just sit here in B main where one, you might not need to use the drone, and two, obviously it's a safer position. You have to be ahead of the wall, otherwise you're just staring an op at a Viper wall, right? And it's not doing anything. You could argue as well this Killjoy turret isn't really getting the value you might want it to, either because of this Viper wall, right? So you're already seeing that the Viper wall, you know, causing issues straight away for this team. And then the Viper here is actually going to get on the angle with the Sheriff and actually hit this shot and actually get the first kill of the round, which is a massive, massive kill, right? And then we're actually going to be able to retrieve an attacking op. So just an absolute game changer. And again, we didn't even actually put the wall up, right? It's just the threat of the wall. We don't even actually need the wall to be up at all, but the Jet knows I need to get ahead of the wall, otherwise I'm just not having any impact in the round for when it actually does go up. That's just, again, part of the strength of Viper, is that, you know, we don't even actually have to use the utility. It's just a threat of it being there, you know, causes us to do stuff that, you know, isn't always the best idea or isn't always great. Now, what they also do here is now, of course, they're in a 5v4. And again, they don't have great guns, right? But they are in a 5v4. So what they're going to do is they're going to grab an ult orb here for Molsey on the ISO. So he's going to get his ISO ult. And he's, again, basically just going to play pure sacrifice here. Are you going to win an ISO ult with a Sheriff? You know, you're not favored probably against, you know, someone with a full gun. So, you know, you probably know you're not going to win, but we're still going to go for this ult here on the Killjoy. They actually go with the Omen ult as well to the backside to try and see if anyone's there as they go in for this exec. So you just saw the ult come in there. You see the Omen ult coming in as well. Killjoy is going to get caught. They actually get the kill to the Sova here with the op that they picked up as well. And now we're just going to go 1-for-1, which is perfectly fine when we're already 2 kills up.
It's you and me.
خد مين؟
ترى خد مين في الالتيميت؟ I think I'm pretty sure ان هو خد فاك، صح كده؟ ان هو اللي قتله ده خد فاك، يرجع يلاقي حد مستنيه في الباك سايد. ودي بقى قدره الايزو، ان انت حتى لو مت بقى في حد على الاقل انت التريد 100% هتحصل، هيخرج هيلاقي 9 حواليه.
دايما ما تكون مرعبه، خصوصا لما ترجع. فكرني بقى الفينيكس زانون والفار متوقعين من نصر ايبكس حتى في الايكو يقدروا انهم يعملوا ابجريد لاسلحتهم، وغالبا داخلين على ماتش بوينت، الا لو الزانون والالفار عندهم راي اخر. واحد من اللين واحد من البريدج، روم مهمه لكلا الفريقين. هذه فلاش ودي بارانويا، 4 في السايت. هاي بيموت والفار بأول، الفار في الثاني. دبل للاردني الفار 1v2، خليها 1v1. على فكره كاياك له اتش بي، فكره ديفيوز دبل بيك، ولكن كاياك